Hey guys, today it's finally Pisces, and I'm reading through Pisces and what it means, Pluto in Pisces in the 12th house. So what I'm going to do is share my slides with you. So what we've got is Pluto in evolutionary astrology relates to the soul and the soul's underlying evolutionary desires. It is the depth of our unconscious and out of our awareness. We can see that we may repeat unwanted patterns or experience the same repeating life issues. Or our Pluto placement and our transit holds information that, when understood, can smooth our passage through time. So there you go. And then knowing Pluto, this is really important with Pluto, is that knowing our Pluto placement and our chart helps us to objectify, to look at our life and know self. The transit and our solar return and our aspects to Pluto show us what is being reborn and what is dying or stale and what needs to change or be released. It is looking to see what needs to end to allow for rebirth and for regeneration to occur in our lives. Through life, many people experience the dark night of the soul. It depends where we're at, but generally people do go through this at some point. So a dark night of the soul, and this is the door to the deeper self. Our life experiences need to be examined so any wounding or painful events can be thawed out, which allows for a rebirth to take place. We are here to live fully with an open heart and explore the world and to transform and transmute that which holds us back. So the next slide. The big question, why am I here? So many of us will ask at some point, that question, why am I here? And often it will take a breakdown for many, coming up to the Chiron return. If you know astrology, you'll get what I'm saying. But, when we have the Chiron return or the Saturn through our houses, we can be pushed at certain points to, transform, and Pluto's there, in the background as well, but pretty heavily in the subconscious. And the why am I here? That question is where we begin to really evolve, when we begin to be able to answer those questions. Next slide. So here you can see, I'm going to show you, I'm going to get my pointer so I can show you what's going on here. So you can see this, my birthday was on the 21st of May, and this is called a solar return chart, this chart here. And this chart is what is basically, it's showing what my year ahead looks like. So we're in May, June, July. So we're only a few months into this, and you can see Pluto in the 4th house there, conjunct Saturn, and they both, whilst Pluto looks like it's in Aquarius, it's actually in Capricorn, and you can see the degrees on the chart by running down these figures here on this side. So this is a solar return. From your birth date, a solar return would run. A natal chart is different. If you can see that my Pluto is there, I was born 21st of May 1966, and the Pluto, I'm Pluto conjunct Uranus on the MC in Virgo, and Pluto takes 245 years on average to move around a chart, and my Pluto has moved from birth to the 2nd house, and it's at this point at the moment, I think it's 22 degrees. It's retrograde at the moment for all of us, but also all of those planets are currently in Capricorn for the whole of humanity. So it's worth knowing that. But I'll give you another example. The sun takes a year to move around a chart. So my birthday was 21st of May, and the sun is currently up here. So you can see that this is not, so the sun is up there somewhere. I think it's in the 8th house, actually. I should know that better. It's in the 8th house. It's moving through the 8th house. But this chart was dated the 25th of April, I see. So you can see that on the 21st of May, there's the sun there. It would have been dead on there. So that means it's your birthday when the sun is conjunct the sun. So we're going to the next slide. So a natal chart, it represents our potential, and it also represents what we have been and where we are at and what we can become. And Pluto works in 3 ways in our chart. We can have cataclysmic due to resistance. 2, willing to change in some ways and resisting in others. And what other ways out of fear of uncertainty. And 3, to jump in with one's heart and soul with a desire to understand and learn to eliminating resistance. And we have free will. And knowing this means we get to make our choices. And it's important that we look at the totality of a chart. And in evolutionary astrology, the baseline, it will be Pluto and the North Node and the South Node. So next slide. Okay, the bit that you'd be waiting for if you've got Pluto in the 12th house or Pluto in Pisces, it will apply to you either way. So we've got here, Pluto here is where an awareness occurs around one's illusions, delusions, and dreams. This will result in a need to acknowledge one's reality. Any dreams or wishes realized will be seen as experienced as less than one imagined they would be. Dreams and wishes that are separating in nature teach us there is something bigger than us. A recognition that Source is the creator and we are not separate as co-creators. When we experience our dreams and wishes and see after the manifestation they are not the answer, we get to a spiritual awareness that something bigger is at play. So an example would be, let's say, you want a business, or you want a new relationship, or you want a new house or a new car. We get those things and then we realize that's not really what we were seeking. They sort of fit in for a while, but then whatever's going on runs much deeper in us because we are souls. And I believe that to be the truth. So he goes on, let's see here, when we feel something is missing and we feel alone, we realize deeply that what we seek cannot be fulfilled by any external desire, which with awareness, we get to see all our desires lead us to temporary satisfaction. There is something more. If we spend the time getting in touch with what separating desires are, then we speed up our own evolution. The need to merge with Source can be experienced in this form, and it can be experienced by that which is not Source. Our need to merge with Source is confusing and creates meaninglessness, feelings of alienation, disassociation from our now reality. We need faith to break down barriers, and the evolutionary desire to return to Source creates fear in us. So you might relate to that. I certainly do myself. So we've got here the next slide, continuing with Pluto in the 12th house in Pisces. So the need to merge with Source, the universal, requires that the individual leaps into the abyss with faith so that all barriers preventing this conscious union can be dissolved. Yet this evolutionary need is commonly met with resistance and fear. Just as the wave can resist returning to the sea for a time, so does the egocentric identification within the individual resist surrendering to the cosmic ocean of being from which he or she originated. And that part is from Jeff Wolf Green, Pluto Volume 1, page 346. I highly recommend you get the Pluto book, and the links will be below this video and at the end of the video also. So purging needs to take place so that one can be free of separating desire. Dream activity may be intense, and this helps with purging of the unconscious. Purging allows for new cycles of growth. A dream journal has been suggested during this period. There can be sensitivity at this time with regard to the collective. Divine illumination and revelation. During this time, it is helpful to have a spiritual transcendental belief system, as this helps with conscious development and allows for techniques to develop and allow for one to see what is truth versus illusions. Fears can cause a resistance to merging. Downtime is needed during these periods, and internal time and external time needs to be balanced. A time to incorporate a transcendental belief system which allows for conscious awareness, to allow oneself to know their spiritual identity, to see that we are co-creators along with Source. Any cycles of confusion or disillusion will lead to us to signs that lead to the ultimate meaning. So the thing is, you can look at this as a solar return, and you can look at it as your placement, Pluto in Pisces or Pluto in the 12th house, or you can also look at it as, in your progressions. There are many ways you can take on this information, but ultimately, if you go back through the last 12 videos, this is 12, the last 11, Pluto 1 through to 11, and this one, you'll get the understanding of what Pluto is for each of us and where it's transiting is important, and the house placement, natal, and progressions and solar returns. It all works together, it's synastry. So here, I love this saying. This is Uganda. And he says that mankind is engaged in an internal quest for that something else he hopes will bring him happiness, complete and unending. For those individual souls who have sought and found God, the search is over. He is that something else. So, you know, that's individual for each of us, what God means to us. It's not something, you know, we can know God, you know, whether it's a belief or not. I know that there is something, a power that's far greater than I am. And I believe that I know that I have a soul. And I can't say I believe, I feel I know. So next slide. Carl Jung, he passed in 1961. He's one of my favorite people that I study, his work. And he created psychoanalysis along with Freud. But Carl Jung is deep in my heart. And one of the sayings he's got here is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And the meaning, to me, that is Pluto. Like Pluto will, you know, bring life to the subconscious. Things will happen that will, you know, push us and stop us. You know, if we're resisting, we're going to have issues. But as he says here, what you resist not only persists, but it will grow in size. So these sayings that Carl Jung used, and also Carl Jung used astrology in his practice with over 500 couples. There's records of that. And he used the symbols and the archetypes to look at and help with the psychoanalysis of people that he was struggling with. Also, resistance determines the magnitude of our problems or confrontations. So when we don't resist, you know, there's nothing wrong with confrontations. Confrontations are important in order for us to grow and develop and expand. So the next slide is the source material. We got Jeffrey Wolfgreen, Pluto 1, The Evolutionary Journey of the Soul, and then the Carl Jung quotes, which I've just quoted, and Uganda, I put a quote there, and the pictures I got from Google. And finally, if you want to read in with me, you can email me at peneloperyder@outlook.com or go over to my Facebook page, and my booking page is there, or it's below in the links too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back. I think I'm going to concentrate on maybe Venus as my next subject, and you know, do Venus through the houses. But thanks for watching.